All right, we're now being joined by a social commentator, Smart Akpejoye. It's good to have you on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And once again, let me just commend this combination. A lady and a gentleman, instead of always having ladies.
Well, they say the ladies rule the world, you know. Is that right?
Both rule the world.
Thank you. And on Skype, we have a Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Communication and Strategy, Yomi Layinka. It's good to have you on TVC Breakfast, Yomi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Right.
Just a matter of minor correction. I'm Special Advisor, Communication and
Okay, Special Advisor.
All
right. All right. And also joining us on phone is the Chairman, Nigeria Labour Congress, Oyo State, Waheed Olejede. Waheed, it's good to have you on TVC Breakfast.
How are you?
Well, we are all fine. I hope you are too. Thank you.
We are fine here too.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to start. Let me start with the Special Advisor, Yomi Layinka. You are on ground there. Before any other one says anything, you are the insider now. Can you give us a state of things? How bad? Let me paint the picture how bad things are, so we can have an understanding of the challenges you are going through as a government, as far as the strike is concerned.
Thank you very much. I will come to that in a second,
right.
But permit me to start by debunking in very clear terms the statement by the bearded gentleman, Mr. Femi Aborishade, where he was shouting at the top of his voice that he had evidence that government was selling its public secondary schools. For the umpteenth time, I think Mr. Aborishade ought to be told in very clear terms that he's been misleading everybody. I guess that tape might have been shot many weeks ago. But just for the records, the Oyo State government never considered and planned to sell its public secondary schools, just for the records. Now, let me come back to the substance of your question. Yes, the state has been going through quite some challenges, especially in the last 1 year, on account, as we all know the story, of the dwindling resources available to the state to meet its obligations, particularly in the area of paying workers' salaries. But we have been in conversation over time in the last 1 year with the labor unions regarding the state of affairs of the finances of the state and how we can together work out our ways out of the maze. It's been challenging, no doubt, because, as you know, this is a state that used to be able to get from about 4 billion naira from the federal allocation on a monthly basis. It has dwindled progressively downwards to about 2 billion. And our salary wages hover around 5.2 billion. So it's been tough meeting obligations in those terms. But as I said, there has been ongoing dialogue until, unfortunately, about 4 weeks ago, when the labor unions decided to go on strike for reasons that are not directly related to salary issues. But I'd like to just leave it at the fact that, thankfully, there's continuing conversation ongoing between the labor leaders and government.
All right, so let's talk about the ultimatum given to you now. Do you think you will meet the deadline, Mr. Layinka? Yes,
I'm not aware of any new ultimatum. All I'm aware of is that there's an ongoing strike, and as I said, the government and labor are meeting. For instance, yesterday, labor representatives and the government sat in a committee that was set up on account of a meeting that held about a month ago. And so that committee is supposed to look at those details of how we can get out of the current stalemate that we're in.
All right, let's bring Waheed Olejede in here. You are the labor person. Tell us about this ultimatum. Is it going to hold sway? Mr. Olejede.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Olejede. Will the ultimate tell us about this ultimatum? Layinka says he's not aware, but tell us about it anyway.
The workers of Oyo State are already on strike. There is no ultimatum on ground. The strike is very strong, it's very potent. We have decided to sustain the strike until the demands of workers in the state were met. I'm sure you are aware sufficiently that workers in the state have not been paid any salary for this year. The last salary paid workers in the state was December 2015. And so the agitation of workers in the state today is a strong demand from government to pay all outstanding arrears of salaries and pensions of workers in the state. And this is the position. And that is why on the 6th of June, the workers in the state decided to embark on strike, and the strike has been sustained up to now. And the agitation remains. And the position of workers today is that there's no retreat, there's no surrender until the demands of workers in the state were met. That is the situation in Oyo State for now.
All right, Waheed, let me take you on this. Yomi Layinka, the special advisor, just made a statement now that your strike is not directly related to the issue of salaries, like you said. Can you tell us if that is true or not, what this is all about?
They are intertwined, they are related. They are intertwined, they are related. You will agree with me that I have just told you that workers in the state have not been paid in the last 6 months. And of course, this is the 7th month when Oyo State workers have been on job and they have not been paid. But we are surprised on the 25th of May this year when Oyo State came out with an advertorial saying it's going to sell schools and going to return schools to private hands. And we discovered that will compound the problems of the education of the poor masses of Oyo State, including the workers. Workers that have not been paid for 7 months. Some of them have their wards in private schools, they could no longer pay school fees. And they have decided to withdraw their wards from private schools, and they are returning them to public schools. Government is now saying it's going to hand over these public schools to private hands. And that is why we came up to inform the government that proposed policy of government was obnoxious, was anti-social, and of course anti-people. And that is exactly what led us to our initial demand for payment of the arrears of salaries on ground. And that's why I say the matters are intertwined, are interwoven. They are related. And that is why the position now is that no single public school in Oyo State should be sold to any private hand. And of course, the arrears of salaries of workers and pensions must also be paid.
Okay, Mr. Yomi Layinka, it is your turn now. Waheed just said that there was a call. There's an advertorial on the pages of the Nigerian Tribune to say that the government is going to give out the schools to the private sector. Your take again? Are you maintaining your stance on that particular issue?
Thank you. I'm not only maintaining my stance, I'm expressing my complete surprise and disappointment with Mr. Olejede going on again 1 minute ago to talk about Oyo State government selling schools. He has been at meetings with government representatives, including the governor. He has read several newspaper reports. He has listened to the governor speak on several radio and television programs, stating categorically again and again and again, and I just spoke again, that the government of Oyo State never intended, never advertised for sale of schools. And why would Mr. Olejede and people like him continue to misinform the public, which means there's a willful intention to misdirect public opinion and to misinform them. And the reason is what I'd like to know. Because if the government has said in the last 4 weeks at different fora, in different ways, over and again, that it's not selling schools, why would Mr. Olejede go on and say that? For the record, what happened was that there was an expression of interest advert placed in the papers, the Nigerian Tribune, on May the 25th, in which the advert spoke about the need for us to attend to the dwindling, decaying infrastructural situation in our educational system, and that it was seeking for interested bodies that may want to participate in the shoring up and in the management of these schools. And therefore, we called in that same advertorial, there was a stakeholders meeting called for June the 1st, that all people interested should assemble at the State House of Assembly, House of Chiefs, to have a conversation on the way forward. That invitation did not stop at being on the national paper. A formal letter was written to being on the national paper. A formal letter was written to different stakeholder groups, including labor, including the NLC that Mr. Olejede is chairman of, including NUT that is the secretary of, and several other stakeholders. That meeting was called for the state House of Chiefs, only for Labour to lead loads of miscreants and political jobbers to come and disrupt that meeting and scamper the whole place, and such that that meeting did not hold. Fortunately, the meeting was held 1 week after. Now, as I said earlier, the strike had absolutely nothing to do with Labour matters.
Okay.
Properly, any strike would normally be given a notice. There was no breakdown of negotiation. There was no ongoing negotiation that was broken down. There was no notice given to the government about an intended strike, which is a requirement of law in this matter. So they went on strike on the excuse that they were fighting for the against the sale of schools, and because they disrupted a public event, the police moved in, and Labour leaders, including Mr. Olejede, were taken to court and locked up under normal procedures of law. And on account of that, Labour decided to go on strike. It has nothing to do with worker salaries, because we have a subsisting agreement with Labour that the government has not breached one jot of. So they had no basis to go on strike. But we are not even talking about that. Now they've gone on strike. We're saying, let us come together and resolve this matter amicably. Because Labour is well aware of the government's resources. It has access to government funds and government treasury, and knows very clearly that government is not hiding away any information from Labour in terms of financial resources available somewhere that we're refusing to pay.
Okay. All right, Yomi, we'll come back. We'll come back to this.
Going on strike meant that they were just being difficult, if not unreasonable.
All right, Yomi, we'll come back to this. I know from what you said, Olojede would like to say something, but let me bring in Smart Akwejoye here, that you have listened to both of them, from the Labour side, from the government side. It seems that there don't seem to be an understanding between both sides. What do you make of all of this?
Once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think I prefer that.
Morning.
I feel so sad that today we're having conflicting reports from both sides, and that shows that governance is not at the peak in Oyo State. In the first place, we are not supposed to have this. Both the labor union and the states, they are supposed to come together and dialogue on moving the state forward, but we don't have that in Oyo State. And not only in Oyo State, we don't have that in most states in the federation. But because today we are focusing on Oyo State, we want to look at Oyo State in perspective. I listened to let me quickly now come back to my last presentation when I said that I discussed with cross-section of workers in Oyo State, and they said they have not been paid 7 months, 8 months in arrears. Those that were being owed 8 months were those that could not get their BVN or whatever.
We have Mr. Olejede here. He will confirm that later, but let's go on.
However, 7 months, I think the secretary to the government now to the government of Oyo State now said it is 5 months. And the way he said it so arrogantly. He said it is just 5 months. How could you be owing somebody salary for 5 months? Let's even take the state's angle to it. 5 months. For 5 months I've worked for you, you don't pay me salary. I was not fraudulent, I was not dubious, and you say it is just 5 months. How do you want me to even sustain myself, sustain my family, sustain my children? I don't know. It is so sad. Once again, my heart goes to the workers of Oyo State, that the Ajimobi that we thought we have is not that we voted for, is not the Ajimobi that we have. Yomi Layinka will always defend his salary, will defend his paymaster, but I've listened to him. He is saying trash. Okay, all right. Let's take the issue of the contention really now about the publication for either expression to either sell the public schools or not. And I know you're an advocate for, you're an advocate for creativity, where a government have to think of out of the box. If governments think they cannot, that they have not said they will, but if they think they cannot manage these schools anymore, even pay salaries for this teacher, is it so wrong? Is it so wrong? Will it be out of place to say, okay, fine, let the private sector come in and run the school? That is one of the best decisions that the state took in reducing their cost.
No, they have not taken it.
No, let me tell you. I'm taking the position of an advocate of the devil advocate, that they have taken that decision right now. Beautiful decision, beautiful masterpiece, but they have gone about it in the wrong way. Like I keep saying that I'm a student of history. Lagos State returned some schools. We didn't have this crisis. There were initial complaints here and there. First, 2 schools, I'm going to use 2 schools that I passed through in Lagos. I passed through our Islam boys, that is what we call Ahmadiyya, Progress College. Invariably, I graduated from, I finished from Progress College, Agege. Progress College today has gone back to the hands of Progress College. When they returned Progress College to the state, it was now State High School, which was the school I graduated from. But I entered Progress College, I entered State High School as a Progress College student. So the state came up and said, look, if you feel you didn't like the way the government took about your property, your school, let us return the school back to you. If you are still willing, if you have the capability to run this school on the standard of Lagos State. Based on that, the Lagos State government said, okay, they came up with some parameters which so many schools met. Part of the schools is Progress College. They met and they returned back Progress College. Okay, so basically, Ahmadiyya returned back Ahmadiyya. There is this school, Lagos State, whatever, at Obanikoro, almost opposite. They call it Lagos State Commercial.
So basically, whatever. What you're saying that it to be a good idea if they do that.
It's a beautiful idea.
Okay, let's bring Olejede in here to confirm some issues for us. The issue of the exact months, either 5 months, either 7 months, and of course, let's look at the issue of you not giving notice before you went on the strike. You remember, even when the national body of the NLC wanted to go on strike, the Labour Minister Chris Ngige cited as a particular portion where that the NLC is meant to give notice, adequate notice, before it commences on strike. That if you do that without giving notice, you've flouted the law. Mr. Olejede. Oh, okay, Mr. Olejede is off now. Okay, we'll try and reconnect with Mr. Olejede. We still have Yomi Layinka with us via Skype. Can you react to what our guest in the studio said, Smart Akwejoye, says you're just defending your pay?
Thank you. Let me start by stating that obviously Mr. Akwejoye went through Progress High School and the Ahmadiyya School. The school did not go through him, obviously. Because if he goes on television to say somebody's talking trash, I hope he knows what that means. Can we
just stick to the topic at hand, please? Can we just
exactly, and I think we should advise him to stick to the topic and use decent language on television. Now, specifically, he also spoke about the SSG arrogance in the way he reacted. Let me say that what the SSG did was to put the record straight, that the government was not owing anybody 7 or 8 months' salary. And Mr. Olejede is also wrong to claim that the government has not paid anybody in the last 6 months. The truth of the matter is this: we had an agreement with Labour, in which case, because they understood that the available resources from to pay salaries had been drastically reduced by almost 50%. That we were only able to pay, that is even when the government had considered to use 90% of the federal allocation to pay workers' salaries, that it would still not pay the 5.2 billion that the workers' salaries demanded. So what it meant was that every other month we would be owing 1 month, because we would have 2 months to pay 1 month's salary. If we have 5.2 billion naira as our salary wage, and we have 2 billion or 2.1 billion every month, it means if we added 2 months, we have paid 1 month. So the truth is, in this year, between January and June this year, workers have been paid 3 times. But of course, it meant we have been paid in the last 1 year, we have paid 6 months out of 12 months. But they've still collected money last month. They collected money in April. They collected money in February. So that let us be very clear. They still collect as money comes in, we pay, but we cannot pay 100% because that is the subsisting agreement. Then the other thing I'd like to also mention is that The agreement was reached amicably and Labour signed the dotted line. That agreement has not been violated by your state government in one instance. And so Labour needs to prove that the government has reneged on its agreement with it to be able to claim that the government has been, whether irresponsible or willfully, neglecting its obligations. And more than that, is that we have been very conciliatory in our conversations with Labour. We have asked them to give us alternative ideas if they have any. We've asked them to be more creative in their engagement with us because that's the only way out. We cannot pay money that doesn't exist because it doesn't exist. And we have given them different offers to say, should we reduce workers in the state employ to maybe 50% so we can manage what we've got? They said no. Should we reduce the salary wage bill to 50% so everybody at least earns the basic salary until our economy improves? They said no. Should we pay the lower cadre of workers, levels 1 to 6, level 1 to 7, consistently, so that when our situation improves, we can then pay the senior staff? They said no. They want everybody to continue to receive this 100%. They want 100% of the workers and so forth. By the way, the state currently has a staff strength of about 105,000. Compared to many states in the southwest of Nigeria, those states have barely 30,000. Ekiti State has barely 20,000. We have 105,000 workers that we have to deal with. And by the way, the local government workers are not being owed the same number of months because their own money goes directly. So they can't claim that local government workers are being owed 6 months. At best, they are being owed maybe 2 months, 3 months in 1 or 2 instances. The teachers have been paid up until 2-3 months, especially the primary school teachers. So the claim that government has not paid in the last 6 months is bogus and it's false.
All right, Yomi, thanks for that. Let's get to Waheed Olejede now. I understand he's back on now. Now, Olejede, my colleague was asking you earlier on when you were off about we need to know exactly, if you can clarify this for us, let's get to know, because Smart earlier on said that some persons are owed up to about 7, others even 8 months, and there's also the figure of about 5 months. Can you give us exactly how many months workers in Oyo State are being owed?
I thank you very sincerely for seeking this clarification. And I think it is the best thing for any party in the current struggle in the state to say nothing but the truth. There's no cause for the workers of Oyo State lying about the situation on ground. I have just told you a while ago that the last salary paid to workers in the state was December 2015, meaning that in January to date, no worker in Oyo State has been paid any dime, and including the pensioners too. And that is why the agitation here is very strong, that unless salaries of workers were paid and the pensions were paid, we will remain at home. Because you could imagine the condition of living of the workers in the state today. Many are dropping dead, arising from unpaid arrears of salaries and pensions. And so it is not 5 months being owed. I am telling you, since today is 13th of July, that suggests that the salary for the month of July is almost also due for payment. And that is why, rather than saying that government has owed us 6 months arrears of salary, we are already saying it is 7, because we are already in the 7th month. And it is not only salary that is owed, pensions are equally owed. So we are not in any way lying. We are saying nothing but the truth, that as of today, Oyo State workers have not been paid a dime for this year.
Well, but Olejede, Yomi just said that there were salaries in February, there were salaries in April, there were salaries in June.
that is far from being correct. That is far from being correct. Perhaps it's talking in the area of, let me say clearly, there are workers who are basically on the payroll of the state government. There are some others on the payroll of local government. And we are talking of the state government now. If it is a matter of the state government, no worker has been paid for this year at all in Oyo State, as far as the workers under the payroll of Oyo State government is concerned. If you talk of local government workers, and in particular the teachers in primary school that draw their salary from the allocation of the state government, there are some others on the payroll of local government. And we are talking of the state government now. If it is a matter of the state government, no worker has been paid for this year at all in Oyo State, as far as the workers under the payroll of Oyo State government is concerned. If you talk of local government workers, and in particular the teachers in primary school that draw their salary from the allocation from the local government, they have been paid January. They were partly paid for February. They were paid full March. That is the situation in the primary aspect. In some local governments, some have been paid April, while some owe a lot of other salaries. But basically at the state level, the matter is between the workers of the state and the government of Oyo State. And I'm saying sincerely that no worker has been paid a dime for this year.
All right, Olejede, we know that certainly it is common knowledge that this is not peculiar to Oyo State. This is a problem amongst so many states in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now, with the current state of things, when it comes to understanding the states where, because Mr. Yomi said earlier that all labor unions have an understanding. They know how much the government has. They know what comes in. They know how it is being disbursed. When it comes to that, what understanding or sympathy is the labor showing to the government?
My brother, long ago, you agree with me that we have showed understanding. And that the understanding we have shown is what led us to these unpaid arrears of salaries and pensions. The understanding is still there. And you have just expressed that the matter is more or less a national calamity. But some other states are addressing the matter with every sense of commitment and responsibility. Not too long ago, Ekiti State workers went on strike. Before they resumed, some amount of salaries were paid. Ondo State workers went on strike. Before they came back to work, a gross section of them were paid 3 months arrears of pension and salaries. But in Oyo State, we have not been offered anything. And that is why individual state labor congress has the right to treat the matter as is peculiar to their own state. So if other states have gone on strike and they have taken something before they came back to work, that suggests that under no circumstance should the workers of Oyo State go back to work until they are paid.
Okay, all right, Mr. Yomi Layinka, it's now we would like to hear from you. What exactly do you want? We understand that you've gone for the second bailout. We understand you've gone for the second bailout as it is. So what do you want? What do you think will work for you?
Only 5 months. All I want to go in February and want to go in January.
You are on, Mr. Layinka. You're on the air.
Okay.
Yes, you're.
That's what I was saying.
Indeed. What do you want? What does your government want?
What we want is for Labour to continue to show understanding, because this is a government. Mr. Olejede he will testify if he remains honest to his conscience that this is a government that has been perhaps the most worker-friendly government in recent memory in Oyo State. This is a government that for 3 consecutive years paid worker salaries on the 25th of the month, in addition to pay an extra 1 month, 13th month salary for 3 consecutive years to workers of Oyo State. This is a government that provided transportation system for workers to and fro their offices for free every day. This is a government that increased worker salaries 3 times within the space of 4 years without any worker agitation. So this is a government that has shown considerable commitment to workers' welfare. And this same Labour Congress, the Pensioners Association of Oyo State, a National Union of Pensioners, gave awards and celebrated this same government and governor for being so worker-friendly. Now things are tough, and like you rightly said, they are not just tough in Oyo State. And that's why we expect understanding that this government has shown a commitment to the workers' interest, has been very transparent. So if Mr. Olejede claims not to know the state of the finance of the state, then obviously he's playing a game. If workers claim not to know the effort that government has made, then it's unfortunate. But more importantly, what we have said is that we need to be creative in the way we engage with each other. We need to understand that times are changing and the labor relations strategies must change to become a lot more creative in the way we generate resources. For instance, the government has led a few directions to say this is the way to increase our internally generated resources. We have in fact suggested the governor offered that Labour should nominate people into a committee that would help improve and drive internally generated resources, such that as soon as our internally generated resources improve, it will be obvious to everybody that we're in a better place to be able to pay and meet our workers' obligations. So government has not engaged on any of its commitments and agreements with Labour. So why would Labour suddenly walk out of a meeting, literally, when we have no breakdown of communication? In any event, the examples that Mr. Olejede gave in Ekiti and Ondo State, as I said earlier, we're dealing with a different kettle of fish in those places in terms of numbers, in terms of how much money we're dealing with. And in terms, and like you said, in most of those cases, they only manage to get 1 month's salary out of it. And we have managed to pay 1 month's salary consistently. To repeat myself, workers do get their pay periodically, and they have been paid in the last 6 months more than 4 or 5 times as monies have arisen.
All right, Yomi.
It has never been in one fell swoop because we never have that money.
All right, Yomi Layinka, Special Advisor, Communication and Strategy to Oyo State Governor. Thank you for talking to us on TVC Breakfast. And we also thank Chairman Nigeria Labour Congress, Oyo State, Waheed Olejede, for joining us on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, let's bring it back home a little. We know that everyone is agitated, especially if you see from the eye of the workers when they're not paid salaries and all of that. But however, let's have some level of calm and decorum. But let's see from this perspective. This is not peculiar to all your states if we have to face the fact. Many states are affected. What do you think is the way forward for all of these states that have problems with paying salaries?
You see, for any state, let me quickly say this. The NLC, I'm not too impressed about Waheed. That is now coming out to defend his people. I'm not too impressed about Waheed.
Yeah, let's go forward from there.
Now, moving forward, you see, in the first place is that we have had like somebody like an emergency governor that perhaps after finish working from national, I'm going to narrow it down to Oyo State.
No, I want us to talk in general now. We don't have all the time. We don't have all the time.
We have governors that perhaps does not even plan to be governor. All of a sudden, maybe he has a good father that will just say, okay, come, you're going to be the next governor. And from there, they start grooming him up, doing all the politics.
Smart, what's governor. The way forward?
The way forward is that what is El-Rufai doing right in Kaduna State? When he came in, he said, okay, first we must reduce the cost of governance. El-Rufai crashed the cost of governance to almost 45%.
So they should do that as well.
Number one, after crashing the cost of governance to the BRS minimum, let us now look at internally generated revenue. So sometimes when I listen to some state and they say they are not economically viable, I feel sick. There is no state in Nigeria that is not economically viable, except we do not have economical...
how would they harness that? How would they harness that in 10
seconds? How do we harness that? It's through internally generated revenue.
10 seconds.
How do we harness that? Internally generated revenue. Enhance your internally generated revenue. When you do that, look, bring in investors that will invest in the state, and through that you will make more income rather than states being the largest employer of laborers in every state in local government. It should not be done. It is wrong.
Smart Akpejoye, thank you very much for giving us your thoughts on this issue. And we certainly look forward to brighter days for all workers across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It's all right. Now, we thank you also for staying and watching the program this morning and all the issues we've talked about. Certainly, tomorrow is going to be another time again for us to discuss other issues affecting Nigerians. Thanks for being there. I am Mike Okwache.
And I am Busola Mituashe. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. Bye for now.